All right, deep divers, ready for another deep dive. Today, we're diving into media coverage of the 2024 election. Specifically, we're looking at this pretty spicy article from the Daily Beast about how CNN is handling, well, candidates Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
Yeah, this piece is it's a fascinating look at how the media frames these two candidates.
Hmm.
And it gets pretty intense when Charlamagne Pie God, the host of The Breakfast Club, calls out CNN anchor Anderson Cooper live on air.
Oh, yeah, it definitely gets heated. So if you're ready to see some fireworks, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let us know what you think in the comments.
This is one you won't want to miss.
So the article starts with Charlamagne appearing on Anderson Cooper 360. And they're talking about Trump's interview with Joe Rogan.
Interesting combo, huh?
Yeah, I thought so. Trump,
That angle.
he always likes to go outside the mainstream media. And Rogan, well, he's got a huge audience.
Yeah.
One that a lot of additional news outlets would kill for.
Exactly. It's a way for Trump to, bypass those traditional gatekeepers and speak directly to a different segment of the electorate.
And that's when Charlamagne kind of jumps in and says, hold on, why are we so focused on Rogan? Shouldn't we be talking about what Trump actually said in the interview?
Mm-hmm.
And he brings up some of these pretty wild statements that Trump made, like building detention camps, using the military against his political opponents, even suggesting that he could, quote, terminate the Constitution.
Wow, yeah. Those are some pretty serious claims.
Totally.
And it raises the question of, how much weight should we give these kinds of pronouncements? Trump has a history of making extreme statements. So is this just his usual bluster, or is this something we should be genuinely concerned about?
Well, Charlamagne doesn't hold back. He basically accuses CNN of having a double standard. They're hyper-focused on, Kamala Harris's race and her background, but they kind of downplay what he calls Trump's, quote, fascism.
In Cooper, of course, he defends CNN, saying that they're just presenting different viewpoints.
Right.
But Charlamagne pushes back. He brings up specific examples of, CNN panels debating Harris's blackness and how that might affect her candidacy.
Interesting.
And he's basically saying, look, you don't see this kind of scrutiny applied to Trump.
It makes you think, right? Like, how the media frames these candidates can really influence how the public sees them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it raises this question of, is it really balanced to give equal weight to, like, extreme views and, factual reporting?
It's a question a lot of people are grappling with these days, especially in this incredibly polarized media landscape.
For sure. And it's something we need to be aware of as we,
Right.
consume news and try to make sense of everything that's going on.
Exactly.
So, deep divers, I think we've got a lot to unpack here, but we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back to dive even deeper into this whole media showdown. Stay with us.
And it's not just about CNN, is it? This whole thing, this whole way of covering Trump, it's almost like he's figured out how to weaponize the media's need to be, balanced.
Yeah, totally. He says something outrageous, something that just sucks all the air out of the room.
Yeah.
And then everyone's scrambling to cover it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's getting exactly what he wants,
Attention.
Attention. And meanwhile, the actual issues,
Yeah.
the stuff that really matters, it gets lost in all the noise.
It's like we're all just reacting all the time instead of actually thinking critically about, what's going on.
And Charlamagne brings up a good point about how this so-called balance can actually create a double standard.
Right.
Especially when you compare how the media treats Trump versus, someone like Kamala Harris.
That's a really important point. He's basically saying that she's held to this incredibly high standard, like she has to be perfect all the time.
Right.
While he can pretty much say and do whatever he wants, and he gets away with it.
It's almost like she's under a microscope, Every little thing she does is scrutinized and analyzed.
And that ties into some of those, deeper societal issues we were talking about earlier. Those around race and gender. A Black woman in a position of power. She often faces a level of scrutiny that her white male counterparts just don't have to deal with.
It's a good reminder that, media coverage isn't happening in a vacuum. It reflects and often reinforces existing power structures and biases.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important for us as media consumers to be aware of those biases, to really think critically about everything we're reading and watching and hearing.
So it's not enough to just, passively consume information anymore. We have to be active participants, questioning things, digging deeper, holding media outlets accountable.
I completely agree. And we also have to be mindful of, the language we use, the narratives we perpetuate. Are we framing these discussions in a way that's fair and accurate? Are we giving a platform to dangerous ideas without providing, context or pushback.
Yep.
These are tough questions, but they're questions we all need to be asking ourselves.
Yeah.
Especially in this crazy, mixed-up media landscape. How do we find the truth when it's surrounded by so much noise?
Yeah, it's a real challenge.
Real challenge. It's overwhelming, right?
It really is.
So much information coming at us from all sides. How do we even know what to believe anymore?
Well, the first thing is, don't rely on just one source for your news.
Right.
Get your information from a variety of different outlets, even ones that you might not always agree with.
That's a good point.
It's easy to just stay in our own little echo chambers, where everyone thinks the same way.
Yeah, but that doesn't really help us, does it?
Not really. It's important to challenge our own beliefs, to see things from different perspectives.
Okay, so diversify our sources.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to fact-check things.
Oh, yeah. Fact-checking is so important.
There are some great resources out there, like Snopes and PolitiFact. They can help you verify information and make sure you're not falling for, fake news or misinformation.
So, diversify our sources. Fact-check everything. Anything else.
Pay attention to the language being used. Be wary of emotional appeals and inflammatory rhetoric. Ask yourself, is this source appealing to my reason? Or are they trying to manipulate me through fear or anger?
That's such a good point.
It's easy to get swept up in the emotion of it all, but we need to stay vigilant. We need to engage our critical thinking skills.
Absolutely.
And that's really what Charlamagne is getting at, isn't it? He's calling on all of us to be more discerning consumers of media.
Yeah, to think for ourselves.
Yeah.
To not just blindly accept everything we're told.
So deep divers, that wraps up our deep dive into this this media showdown between Charlamagne and Anderson Cooper. But the conversation doesn't end here. We want to hear from you. What do you think of this whole exchange? Have you noticed similar biases in your own media consumption? And maybe the most important question of all, if Charlamagne is right, if no network has been truly honest about Trump, what does that mean for the future of our democracy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this. Until next time, deep divers, stay curious,